Are you tired of the vaguely tinny sound that you get out of your computer? Are you a musician or a vlogger and you want good quality sound, but you don't have much room on the desktop? Or are you just somebody with a kitchen or a bedroom nightstand that loves music, but there's not a lot of room? I think you're going to be happy to see the new Kanto ORA. Let's dig into this one. The Kanto ORA is scheduled to ship right around November 1st, 2023. And the kind folks at Kanto were nice enough to send us a review pair so that we could get after it. These are going to sell for the modest price of $349 for the pair. And we're amazed at the sound quality of them, given the tiny size. They're not very big at all, yet they sound really good. And they're so slim, you can even put them underneath your TV monitor and still get a good sound. So the Kanto ORA reference desktop speaker is their first active speaker, meaning it's not simply powered, they've done that before, but this time it's actually bi-amplified, and we'll dig into that just a little bit deeper. So if you're looking for really good sound out of a vanishingly small product for pretty reasonable money, we're thinking this is the one. So we said that this is a fully active speaker, and it is. There is no conventional crossover network whatsoever inside this guy. It's actually got a 9-watt amplifier powering the tweeter, a 16-watt amplifier powering the woofer, because it takes obviously a little more oomph to create good bass. And DSP circuitry is what's inside here, making those individual crossovers happen. So they've custom tuned this, it's all digital. In a conventional crossover network, you've got all those capacitors and resistors, all of which are soaking up a little bit of audio energy, soaking up some of the amplification. You don't have that here. So it plays quite a bit louder and goes substantially deeper than you would guess that a speaker of this modest size and modest amplification could ever do. Now, we're impressed that the folks at Kanto really took the time to engineer this little beauty with some audiophile chops. This is a 3/4-inch silk dome tweeter. We often find silk domes work out great in this general price range. And look at the way that they have molded the cabinet. You can see that there's a waveguide in both the vertical and horizontal plane. You get really wonderful imaging when you're listening to this. Now the driver down here, this is a 3-inch pulp or paper cone driver. They have actually shielded this driver. So if you have an older CRT-based, let's say, gaming console, it works out just fine. I think that the amount of bass here, if your expectation is not, big tower speaker and subwoofer combination, the amount of bass that you get from this is really impressive. And it's obvious to us that Kanto's engineers dug in and did a great job. We at Gramophone really appreciate your support. So if you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe and click that little bell so that you're notified of our upcoming content. We appreciate that support too. Let's talk a little bit about connectivity and usage. This volume button over here, and yes, it does click when you move it. I kind of like that feeling. This is also the on-off button. So you press it and it turns on. If you press and hold it, it turns off. But it's not only volume and on-off, it also is your source selector. So when you click it and the little button down here is green, that's your RCA input. When you click it and the little light down here is yellow, that's your USB input. Click it again, it turns blue, that's Bluetooth. So when it's blinking, it's pairing. When it's solid blue, it's paired. You're good to go. So let's talk back panel connectivity a little bit. This again is the primary speaker. It is quite a bit more loaded than what we need with the secondary speaker, which only needs to get connected, by this cable that conducts both power and signal. What you've got up at the top is a very carefully selected and carefully tuned port. So Kanto's engineers took a lot of time to make this as efficient as they possibly could, which is part of why this little puppy plays as loudly as it can, but also to reinforce exactly the frequencies they wanted to reinforce in the bass, which is part of why it's got such surprisingly good bass. This is a 1/4-inch threaded insert, which means this will work out perfectly with a lot of the aftermarket brackets and stands. And then third, This is a Bluetooth 5.0 enabled system. So 5.0 is going to be a little higher fidelity than some of the 4.0 and some of the things that went before it. And again, we mentioned that when you engage this button and you're pairing, that front panel light blinks blue. Once it goes solid, you know you're paired and you're good to go. I really love this next feature, and that's the sub out that Kanto built in here. So remember that we said it's DSP controlled. If you connect a subwoofer here, the DSP section inside will sense that and automatically engage a 100 Hertz on down at 24 dB per octave crossover. What that means is, number one, obviously, everything below 100 cycles is getting sent directly to the sub, which after all is really well suited to make bass. A little bit bigger cabinet, bigger driver, more power, and so forth. Kanto, by the way, makes a product called the Kanto Sub 8, which is quite good for this purpose. What might not be so obvious is that these guys are only reproducing everything from 100 cycles on up. So you've now freed them to do their absolute best work at what they're really best at anyway. So you'll obviously get better bass if and when you connect a sub, but you're also going to get considerably more clean and open high end and mid-range. I think you'll be really knocked out if you do add a sub to this system. So just to finish off these back panel connections, down here, you've got your DC input. This goes obviously to the power brick that they pack in the box, and it is a substantial one, which is good because these are active speakers, so you need a good solid power supply to be able to have them do what they need to do. Up here, we've got a USB-C input, and this is wonderful because if you're using this with your computer, a lot of computer boards are notoriously relatively poor in sound quality. They're somewhat noisy, the DACs tend to be very inexpensive. Well, this USB-C connector will enable you to do 24-bit up to 96K. So I think you'll be really surprised by the quality of the sound that can come from your computer when a really nice digital audio converter, like the one inside here, is handling the conversion instead of the relatively lower quality one that's on many computer boards. And here we've got RCA inputs. Obviously a CD player, for example, an older gaming console that only has analog outs, that sort of thing. You can even use, if you like, a phono preamp so that you can spin vinyl with this system. Last but certainly not least, this is the 4-pin connector, and I'm just going to unplug it and show it to you. This 4-pin connector, and they do pack I would say about a 6-foot cable in the box, carries both power and signal over to the secondary speaker. So the secondary speaker doesn't need to be plugged into the wall because you've got power and signal coming from this included cable. So let's talk about some of your options in terms of placement. They do ship 8 little rubber feet, so 4 for each speaker, just to keep them from moving on your desktop or table. But they've got a couple really nice stand options. This is the S2. So this angles the speaker back by about 16 degrees and obviously gives you, maybe an inch or a little bit more of lift. So that's nice. Some folks may even want to go for a little bit more lift. So this is the SE2, and you can see that there's this nice thick rubber here and again here. This time, this one will get you a little bit further up in the air. Now, these are really options that kind of have to do with your particular set of circumstances and what your desktop is like, but they're both options that are available to you if you decide you don't want to just rest the Kanto ORA directly on the computer desktop or kitchen countertop, whatever it might be. It's really impressed us about what Kanto has done with the ORA. They made the point that they've specifically thought about some markets of folks who will really enjoy this. Examples: podcasters need to have something that's high quality so they can hear literally what's going on in the podcast. Gamers. There's a lot of gamers who prefer to wear headphones, but even some of the most comfortable ones over a long period of time can start getting uncomfortable. And this can be a fabulous option for the gamer who just needs a break from the headphones. Musicians. Musicians are based upon the quality and the sound of what they're doing. If they can't clearly hear what's going on, they're in trouble. But at relatively modest money and very modest size, Kanto ORA does a great job for that market segment too. To learn more about Kanto and all of our fine brands, please visit Gramophone.com. And to pick up your pair of Kanto ORA, shop Sky by Gramophone, where you'll always get a secure checkout with fast and free shipping straight to your door. Here at Gramophone, we're loving what Kanto has done with this new ORA. It's the right thing for anybody that doesn't want to spend a ton of money and doesn't have a ton of room, but still wants great sound. The choices they've made with this wonderful tweeter and a very good driver, and individually powering them, crossed over digitally with DSP, it's kind of an amazing product for what it is. If you're considering a new speaker and you don't have much room, we think that Kanto hit it out of the park with Kanto ORA. At Gramophone, we appreciate your support and we'd love to visit with you. Stop by one of our Maryland showrooms at Timonium, Columbia, and Gaithersburg, Maryland. Right now, we're recording this in the Gramophone Experience Center, which is directly across the parking lot from the Timonium store. And check out our Kitchen Design Center, where the experts there can help you plan your next remodeling project. Thanks again. We look forward to seeing you soon.